Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our operations management webinar for the new enterprise planning. I hope everyone is hearing me out clearly. All right, so let's start the webinar. For anything else, this webinar is brought to you by University of the Philippines, Open University, and Entrepreneur webinar provider for the evening. All right, so operations management. Operations management is part of your business plan. Uh, it's the operational part of your business plan. This coincides with the current coursework for the new enterprise planning. So this webinar would help you create a better operations plan. Now, operations management, it's simply the design, operation, improvement of the systems that create and deliver the company's products and services. Comparing that to marketing is attracting customers using your products or service. Operations management is about the creation and delivery for some. It's a system for creation of the process of the creation and delivery, which should be integrated with both the strategy, which is the long term vision of your organization or your business, as well as the short term tasks and activities that you need to decide day in and day out of your business. So, operations involves both products and service, or products or service. It could be both, but we could define products or its production systems as a manufacturing or for transportation, retailing, warehouse, and even healthcare or telecommunications for some. For services, however, we need to classify both the core service as well as the value added service. The core service is the main benefit that your service would be offering. The value added services would be the good to have factors in order for you to differentiate with your competitors. All right. So why do we need to study operations management? It involves basically every business needs operations management. Every business has a product or service that they offer, and operations management is about efficiency and decreasing the cost for you to create that value. So before there's a question, can we both strive for quality and costs? In reality, they are negatively correlated. It means that if quality is good, uh, cost would be uh, cost would be higher. If you offer not so much of quality, you can offer that cheaply. Now, in doing operations management, you can have um, you can have great quality products at the lowest cost because your operations basically is efficient. So that's the role of operations management. So just a quick glance of the products and services in general, in the marketing perspective. This is your core benefit, what you offer. What benefit does your product or your service offer? That's your main uh, product or core product. It involves the actual product, which is basically the 4P: features, quality level, brand name, packaging, design, even promotions. That's your totality of your product. And your differentiating factors, which is the augmented product, involves after sales service, warranties, deliveries, even credit. We'll discuss that later. And installation, if your product has that feature. So, core service, as I mentioned, is about the basic things that customers want from the products or service that they purchase. The value added service is the good to have features of your product or service. It what separates you from your competitors. Usually, this is what builds business because this would make you popular. This would make you uh, good in the perception of your customers. It would make you unique. So try to have both in your business. If we would define the core service involves quality, speed of delivery, the flexibility in terms of your customers' needs, because yes, there is one need, but the specific of that need involves different factors that you need to be mindful of. So flexibility is one, and the price, or which is a function of how you create or how you manufacture, maybe buy your product or service. On the other hand, value-added services involves or involves around problem solving, because yes, after purchase, they would need to have some complaints or some inquiries that you need to solve. Involves information, so you need to provide information on how to use, how to keep, or whatever, and there's support that is needed in terms of sales and in the field. If you need to go in their actual house, if that is needed in your business model. So that's value-added services. So in terms of cost, quality, flexibility, and delivery, there are trade-offs that you need to be that you need to decide on when you're starting a business. So for cost, lesser cost means poor quality. That's the usual trade-off. Though in unique cases, you can have low cost but high quality. That happens when you have a unique product that you only produce if you have a patent, for example, or if you know if you have a secret in producing such product, or if you have super efficient process in in merchandising or in manufacturing. That would be the time when low cost and high quality would happen. Now on delivery, if you want to have superior delivery, then you would have less flexibility. Um, Maybe it's a function really of cost. You need to decide if you would deliver, and if you need to be flexible in terms of the demands of your customer. If you happen to have that experience, always customers have unique set of demands that you need to decide at the start of doing operations for your maybe deliveries. Some would need to have special requests, and it's your discretion if you would grant that. So that's flexibility, and cheap delivery would basically outsourcing your delivery. Uh, this is the obvious delivery, which is the logistics part, and the flexibility is about special request from your customers. So that's a trade-off that you need to decide at the start when you're doing your plan. So in your coursework, I think the first question is about the process. What are the process steps to do in creating or creating your product, service, or merchandising if you're a reselling business? So basically, this is just a sample. of the process. So, for example, it's about a shoe cleaning business, and the process involves just 3 steps. For example, so first one is brushing the shoes. Uh, it maybe it's 30 seconds, and that's listed here. And you need to define the costs involved of uh, of that process step. I think the module states a different one, but in our case, we need to at least to have an estimate of that process step. So you could estimate that process step using the expenses involved. Uh, for this case, about buying the brush, the hourly or the hourly manpower, you could just divide that to have a by second rate. And you need to define the overhead costs per second. So that is one process step. For in our case, the second one is applying polish. So it is defined here as 30 seconds. 50 pesos is the cost associated with it. We have the polish, cloth, manpower, overhead as expenses. That's a breakdown of the 50 pesos. So when polish is applied, they need to buff it or to shine it. It's 45 seconds, and estimatedly 60 pesos is the cost. So it is breakdown by the brush, buffer, manpower, overhead. So at the end, you will collect payment. Let's say it's 15 seconds and involves around expenses and revenues, of course. So expenses is 0.5, also 50 cents. Assuming there are no after sales, there is one here, but there's no cost associated with it. Just question and answer from your cashier and or salesperson. So the receipt, maybe that's 50 cents, and the revenue is 300 per shoot, for example. So we can, the good thing in associating cost in activities or in process steps is you can calculate profit for each product. If you're if you want to learn more about this, this is the discipline in this one is like, it's called activity based costing. So it's budgeting based on process steps. That would be a good way to account for things, because the usual thing is you need to have a starting budget, and that budget involves what you need to do, what items do you need to purchase, what inventories do you need to purchase, and then account that at the end, minus going for the revenues minus the cost. That's the usual thing in budgeting and in accounting. But in management accounting, there's what you call activity-based costing, and an example of such is what we did with this slide. All right. So I hope you would do a brief costing in your coursework. That I would give good points on that if you would indeed do that. But there's no requirement doing such costing for each process step. So another part of operations management is quality management. So quality is most used in everything that we do. We always hear quality, 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 but we don't usually know the true definition of quality. Quality's definition is not defined by you. It is So, quality management is meeting customers' requirement. The role of operations management is meeting customers' expectations that often cause quality and especially customer satisfaction. So, what are the usual specifications of quality? Well, it's about the design. It's how you create that design in the requirements of your customers. Some dimensions include performance features, reliability, durability, serviceability, response, aesthetics, and reputation. That's some of the dimensions that you need to pick actually in starting a business. No business can start with all dimensions, wherein they do great on all. You need to pick depending on what your customers require you to do. There's also conformance quality. Um, yeah, how you uh, how you conform to specific specifications. This is more on some stringent standards in doing products. Um, let's say, for example, doing engine of a car work. There are such specifications that you need to follow. If you don't follow it well, a car wouldn't work, or it would lead to um, total customer dissatisfaction. So there are standards. So in quality management, it involves around doing manuals, doing good benchmarks, doing standard process steps for your employees or for you to follow as you do business. So what are the benefits of quality management? Well, it's increase in sales per employee, business productivity, yield if you are manufacturing, and also pride in employment. This is what happened to the Japan era, wherein they turned their country from not so good in quality, but uh, now in superior quality. We all know that the products coming from the country of Japan is uh, is of quality. Well, as compared to the Chinese products, that's a typical stereotype. Though you can't be too general. There are good quality from both companies and bad uh, on countries rather. Bad quality management leads to more costs, more complaints, disputes internally, and the length in processing or doing business. That lead to customer dissatisfaction and eventually losing income. You need some costs that you need to consider in your quality management for your business. It's mind. It's about thinking of the scrap work, rework, the the failure that may happen, and its occurrence. You need to define that how it is, how frequent it is happening, inspections, and well downgrading for um, some failures that you can't control because your product or service was rendered now, or products are in the hands of your customers. It's about repair warranty, rejects, failure, and incorrect delivery. So, well, impact, as I mentioned, it's about creating customer value, and without good quality, you won't be able to create that customer satisfaction. Maybe referrals from users, referrals for your business. As I mentioned, quality is defined through your customers, and you can have that through market research. And some uh, traditional features, or the must have in a product or in a service, that is usually defined in your business. So for example, the sexy bottle of Coke, if you're selling that, and the bottle is not conforming to that shape, well, it would lead to low quality, usually, unless there is a previous campaign that it would change. But that trademark, that standard is embedded on each of your customers' mind. So veering away from that standard, from that uh, attribute, would usually connotes to low quality. And production processes or service processes that you identified in the start as a process step in your product manual or service manual, deviation from that would lead to low quality most of the time. All right. So again, leads to quality, leads to lower costs. Uh, it would gain you loyal customers if you're good at quality. Um, just just thinking of a profit alone wouldn't get you to your vision of your company. It usually involves quality, and that is the power of operations management. Um, Defining that demand, that need, and servicing that, or producing for that, would lead you to your vision for your business, the future. Okay, now we go to customer service. I think that's on the middle part of your assignment in new enterprise planning. So customer service, the contemporary view, it's about the people and what requirements they have, and your system that addresses the problems of your people, and the service strategy. Um, if your strategy is about differentiating with the rest, you could offer a different kind of after sales service. And maybe your strategy is to maybe work as a marketing tool. You could maybe your salespeople would dance in your your store. It would lead to PR, but in reality, it's about making your customer smile at the end. Um, what are some of the strategies in doing customer service? So it's the treatment of the customer, being courteous, empathize with them. The other one is the speed of delivery. If you say you be doing deliveries for 30 minutes, well, that's for pizza deliveries. If you're offering a new pizza delivery service, you could offer 10 minutes. That will lead you to good customer satisfaction and maybe loyalty. For the price, you can have custom pricing depending on their specifications, variety of your offer, quality of tangible goods, and unique skills that constitute the service. What what people usually look at customer service is that customer service is just a function of talking to people, being courteous. It's just a treatment, really, of the customer. But in reality, customer service is a function of all of your touch points. So whatever uh, whatever points that your business and your customers uh, touches, that is a touch point. So if your product is held by your customer, that is a touch point. Um, the signs that they view in maybe the streets or in the flyers, that is customer service. It should be aligned with your strategy. So that is why this triangle of customer service is used in the view of customer service. So there are ways to do customer service. Um, that is you need that's the factors that you need to be mindful of in doing your business plan. You need to pick several ones that you need to be good at and just focus on that since you're just starting in the business. All right. So customer service can be extended by using service blueprint. Service blueprinting is just an extended version of your process step that we just discussed earlier. So, for example, the brushing, the shoe brushing business that we just defined earlier. So there's a brushing of the shoes, applying of the polish, buffing, and the collection of payment. And these are the time spent on each. Now, when you talk to your customers, they have the usual range that would make them satisfied. So that is your total acceptable execution time. So um, you can do the typical process step in the normal times, but uh, in reality there would be times when seconds would lapse, or it would be the time would be doubled. So when that reached more than 5 minutes, well, that is what we call the fail point of your business, of your service. Now, there would be an additional process step that you need to do. So this is the part when that is seen by your customer. So this is the line of visibility. So that is the line of visibility. You need to clean your shoes. That is seen by your customers. So if you would expand this service blueprint in your process step uh, part of your business plan, there would be several fail points that you need to consider, and you need to have at least a contingency for you to provide better customer service for your customers. Now, you don't need to do this in your operations plan coursework, but this would be a huge plus in your answers, and also this would be a huge help for your business if you are starting one, because you can anticipate fail points and you can provide for what people would do after, what are their service recovery methods, because when something fails, a complaint usually goes after. So you need to do something. You can't really just ignore such fail points and strive for a successful business. You need to be mindful of everything that happens. You need to have a contingency that is um, explained by service blueprinting your process step. All right. So now we go to supply chain management, which is a huge part of operations management. It's about the flow of supplies from actually Mother Earth to your end customers. Um, so with these links, so we have one here: the extractors, the miners, the harvesters of raw materials. Um, there are converters of these raw materials, which are also the suppliers that the suppliers of big raw materials. There are logistics company that delivers supplies to a typical business that processes to create more value, and then there are distributors that connects a business to its end customers. So if you're in this one, the your business, this is typical. You buy certain raw materials, and then you subject it to whatever process that you may have, and the finished product is delivered by uh, whatever courier service that you outsource to, or if you happen to have a fleet of cars or motorcycles. So this is the typical supply chain, and a good supply chain is as weak as its weakest link. So you need to define everything. Uh, Usually, it's about 2 points um, before and after your business. So that's what we call the downstream and the upstream. So let's say, for example, a uh, food processing plant. So if you're a retail store for beef patties and frozen fries, maybe hamburgers, French fries. So if you own the retail store, your supply chain is the distribution center. Their potato farm processing plant and the farm, the cow farm. So for you to to have a good supply chain, you need to find good distribution centers that or good suppliers that sells frozen patties and potato fries, the frozen one. And in order to do that, to find that good supplier, you need to find out where they source their supplies for you to ensure a good quality raw materials for your retail store. So basically, that's a good way to start supply chain and inventory. Supply chain involves demand, supply, and logistics. That's a good starting point in good supply chain management. And also involves inventory. So this would be a huge plus for your business plan if you can predict the actual inventory for your business, because inventory usually has a cost associated with it, and it also lead to, if you don't manage it correctly, it could lead to spoilage or even low turnover inventories. So now this is just a quick computation of the inventory reorder point. So the formula is you need to find out the average daily unit sales, multiply it by delivery time plus a safety stock. So safety stock is defined for every business, usually to cover for unique circumstances, or if something happens to deliveries or sudden increase in demand. So at least you have uh, an inventory to service that demand. Now, for example, you're selling the French fries. Yeah. So you're selling 50 units in January, February you have 75 units, March 55. So assuming 30-day month, divide the total sales by 90, you have two sales per day. Okay. And in your experience, you're ordering 50 units worth of fries, 75 and 55 for March. And you also listed that the delivery time is 8, 30, and 70, 7 days for March. So just add them up, divided by the number of deliveries. So if you ordered, if you just made 3 deliveries, divide that, and it leads to 15 days lead time. So that is the time when you order up to the receipt of the actual order. So if you compute that, 2 multiplied by 15 plus 28 give you 58. So when your inventory reaches 58 worth of French fries, you need to notify the your suppliers that you're ordering an amount of stocks for reselling. So the difficult part in doing this reorder point is in starting a business, you don't usually have these numbers, the sales figure. In the delivery in days, you can just ask the suppliers what are their ranges and just pick the middle part. In reordering, so you need to define the demand first. You can do that when you have a soft opening. You can simulate the sales. You can do pilot testing for selling. You can do a smoke test. You can do market research, surveys, and copying the most similar business around your area. So if you're selling, for example, if you're selling French fries, luckily you happen to have uh, what's the potato corner around the area. So just um, do a quick observation of their operations, or maybe for an hour. Just see how much they're getting, how many orders per hour they're getting, and just test a uh, a time when there is huge foot traffic, or times when they are actually your the dead time or the non-peak hours. So just observe them, and usually you'll have a figure that would be similar to yours. Oh, that's a good way to determine demand, or the expectation that you'll be having for your new business, if you happen to have a good competitor around your area. Okay, so now we go to logistics. This is also a huge part of operations management. It involves handling, movement, storage. It's about transportation. It's really just transportation of your products or service to the end customers. So that's a good, simple definition of logistics. And usually, logistics is a very, very capital intensive part of a business if they happen to uh, invest in it. What usually happens here in the Philippines is that they outsource it to local logistics firms like Air 21, LBC, and other small scale logistics company. So you can look into local logistics companies and see their pricing. How are they? How well can they offer you a service that would not make you lose much margin? What are their values? How they do business, for you to decide whether if you can outsource it or not. Okay. Some financial measures that you can use in your business plans. Um, the basic ones are the costs, delivery speed, and quality. Um, you can expand those um, three types by inventory value, weeks of supply, inventory turns, on how um, how well you do selling in terms of your inventory. It's just a ratio of inventory and the actual sales per day. Uh, well, these are more financial measures, but you can use them. I won't define them one by one. So just pick ones that you may use. So the last part of our discussion is about credit policy. I've updated your coursework to include this part. Why? Uh, well, we all know that cash is king. Well, that that is cash is king. Cash is king. But when you are not selling items, or if you want to expand your business, you want to grow your business, credit or selling with payment uh, at a future date is actually a tool for uh, increasing sales. And that's the concept that most people forget when they are trying to sell uh, at a credit. It's actually a sales tool. Credit is sales tool, but it doesn't apply to every business. If you can apply, it's a good way. It's a good marketing tool. However, credit is a function of trust. It's trust of your business to whatever customer, or it could be business to business or business to retail consumer. It's based on trust, and that trust usually is based on past business experience or credit worthiness evaluation policy. Um, this is mostly seen in banks when you're trying to avail for a loan. You need to fill up so much forms, and you need to divulge so much information for them to lend you money. That is part of their credit worthiness evaluation, and then they would validate that information to see if you're really credit worthy. If in your business, if you can apply credit, well, the usual approach is at start you don't want to offer credit because you need to focus more on your business, going that before expanding your business via credit. So, well, if you happen to use credit as a sales tool, um, should be mindful of the credit worthiness evaluation. Uh, how well you can trust your customers in paying you back. Um, why? Because credit also involves additional cost, and that is the cost of capital, the interest rate, and the working capital opportunity cost. Because credit or sales that are not paid is not growing. You don't have the luxury to reinvest it into your business. You're waiting for such opportunity when they eventually pay you back. So the good way to know if you can offer credit is to weigh the costs and the benefit. And well, benefit should always outweigh cost. If the cost is the rate of interest rate, the rate of banks in um, gaining a loan. So if that is 10%, for example, 10% of 100,000 is 10,000, and the benefits could be extending credit to your customers would generate worth of 500,000 revenues, and if your margin is 10%, that is 50,000 additional income. And subtracting the cost, which is the 10% we described earlier, the 10,000, the net effect would be 40,000 worth of income, additional income. That is a good way to compare. However, in starting a business, Your problem is really the customers, not the credit, not the way to offer credit as a tool. You need to define first your customers and how you can offer good value first, rather than focusing on credit. But well, if you want to have that, you can offer credit. In your assignment, there is an account receivable table. This is actually just a way to measure how you how how will you extend credit to your customers. You can not extend credit. So this is the part when you don't extend credit. 100% cash operations. On the next one is you can be a little bit conservative, 80% cash. And for people that are applying for credit, you can just approve some, and the longest is 60 days. On cash, on the other one is more riskier, because you're extending credit up to over 90 days. Um, you don't really need to put in starting a business. You don't really put in figures in this one. You just need to put in guidance on how you will be extending credit to your customers.